Hey friends, are we loving all of the fall fragrance videos coming out, or are you starting to get sick of them already? Because we know that happens season to season. We love good seasonal videos, and then you get a deluge of them, and then we're ready for the next season. But this happens to be my favorite of all, and that's fall. That rhymed. I shared some of my very favorite fall fragrances when we talked about the So Avant-Garde sale that I did with them at the beginning of September. And I've done a cozy and comforting fragrance video. Today, I'm going to focus on my top 10 fall all-stars. This was so hard because these are fragrances that were not in either of those videos with the exception of one. And they're also not in the upcoming videos. And what I have planned for you coming up is I have a fall gourmand lineup of my personal favorite gourmands that I associate with this time of year. I have a fall spicy fragrance video lineup. I have a unisex gems video, and the fragrances that I've chosen for that one I associate very heavily with fall and cooler weather in general, with the exception of one. And you know, I'm gonna do a little bit of a Halloween video. And so the dilemma was making sure I didn't have repeats across all of these so that I brought you new selection each time. And I also have a house review for Initio coming up, which is a house that has a number of beautiful fall and winter fragrances that I would urge you to get your nose on. But about today's video, these are my all-stars across a number of different categories. So if I had to do like a fall capsule that doesn't have any of the ones in the So Avant-Garde video with one exception, I would probably reach for these first today. Again, as always, if you ask me next week, I might have a completely different list. Let's jump right in. I'll start off with one that was the it girl of YouTube videos probably about 5 years ago or so. Some people still have her in their collection, and other people have long since decluttered this one. I can't let it go, and I'm going to probably finish this bottle. It is Girl of Now from Elie Saab. I do have Girl of Now Shine as well, which has this, but also a pineapple note. And this is mostly for me a nutty fragrance. I associate this as being an almond heavy fragrance. There's pistachio in the composition as well. Orange blossom, which is this sort of very, for me, almost like a honeyed white floral note. There's something sort of sweet and sultry and just very sort of sexy and alluring about orange blossom for me. The combination of the nuttiness with the orange blossom sitting on top of something that has a little bit of base. It's patchouli that's in the base of the fragrance with tonka bean. I love that tonka bean lends this like almost like a powdery vanillic nature to a fragrance and gives it some depth. So I love this. The patchouli is very light and mellow in here for me. Mostly it's orange blossom and almond. And I love the comforting sweater weather nature of this fragrance. The fact that it is both gourmand and floral at the same time. So it doesn't feel like, you know, you're smelling like a snack or any of those kinds of categories. It just smells really warm and enveloping, cocooning, cozy, all of that. Love the bottle. I think this is really pretty. And it's just one of my all-time favorites. And as you see, I'm making my way through this bottle here. So number one. A fragrance that I don't hear anyone talking about really, and I don't know if it's even in circulation anymore. I think it has been discontinued. I will try to link everything below where I can find them and try to get you some good deals on this if they're still available. But this is Santal Cardamon from the Maison Lancome line. Most of these have been discontinued, at least in the US as far as I know. But this is one of the most elegant sandalwood and cardamom heavy fragrances. It's spelled with an N here. It's spelled different ways around the world. But so we'll say cardamom for all of you, my US audience. I love the delicate, almost dry, it's like a dry rub of a cardamom spice that's in here alongside the dryness of the sandalwood. Some sandalwood fragrances have a very sort of creamy base to them. This one is a little bit in the drier direction. It has a really sultry nature with the addition of a very soft, perfumey patchouli note in here, as well as more recently, I pick up more leather in this fragrance than I think I did originally. I'd have to go back to my old reviews, but I'm remembering for me that the leather was sort of in the background. I get more of the soft, suede, buttery leather now in the fragrance alongside those notes. And there's also vanilla that lends this softness and femininity to this fragrance. For those of you that have been on the recent hype train with Creme de Cuir from BDK, imagine that fragrance, switch out that sort of citrusy pineapple aspect of that and push in cardamom dryness to that and a little touch, like a dash of patchouli, and you get something like this. It is really quite elegant, sophisticated, super long lasting. I love that it has a unisex touch to it, but can be easily worn by anyone and very comfortably so. one of the masterpieces in my collection. I don't know if this made it into a masterpiece video, but if it didn't, it sure should be. Really gorgeous. So I will see if I can find this for you. It's hard to find. So this next category is a very sort of quintessential fall category in that it reminds you of sugar and spice and everything nice and pumpkin spice lattes and riding boots and fall festivals and hay rides and all of that. And there are a lot of fragrances in this category. For me, I am going to go with Oajan from Parfums de Marly. I could have gone with Angel Share because I feel like they're sort of neck and neck in this category for the most beautiful. I also still have and enjoy Ambre de Alexandria, Ambre d'Alexandrie from Boucheron. There's Honey Oud from Montal that also falls in this category, and a number of others. There are a bunch that kind of have that sort of fall, spicy, vanillic, ambery, appley, cinnamony thing happening that smells. A lot of people associate these smells with like pie baking, like apple pie and all of the spices that you put in them. This smells a lot heavier than an apple pie smells to me, but it has some of the spices like a prominent cinnamon note. I also get this sort of bright, almost cooked apple, like equal parts fresh apple and cooked apple in here. There's a definite like heaping dose of this beautiful deep vanilla. The fragrance comes across ambery, meaning it has this sort of warm, golden, enveloping undertone to it. It's a rather heavy fragrance. Angel Share, if you spray lightly, won't come across quite as heavy as this. I feel like this is the heaviest of the ones I have. Some of those other ones that I mentioned can get pretty heavy. Oh, the other one that I would put in this category is probably like Cult at Night from Attar Collection, I believe is the name. I ended up selling that one because I had so many in this category, but they're all really quite beautiful. I love the spiciness of this. I love the fall textures in here. I love the amberiness of it. And I love the prominent cinnamon here. This is like an ultimate, it's even beyond sweater weather. Like, Girl of Now is very sweater weather for me. This is like you're starting to put on your light jackets and coats. I might even put on like a small bomber puffer jacket, and you want the beautiful sort of spicy, vanillic, comforting nature of this type of fall scent wafting up as you go about your day. So that's Oajan, beautiful. So I did want to say that Oajan is long lasting too. Forgot to mention that. Big projection, very long lasting. This next fragrance reminds me somewhat of this, but instead of being fall, spicy, appley honey, it leans in a tobacco direction. I have dedicated tobacco videos. I think I have 2. I will try to link those below for you so you can check those out. I'm not going to do another tobacco video this year. I have actually passed along and sold a lot of my tobaccos. I had about something like 15 tobacco fragrances at one point. Holy cow. And had sampled at least that many more, if not, twice as many more. And I've narrowed my collection down to just probably 3 or 4 tobacco type of fragrances that I really love. This one being my ultimate love. And this is Ambre Tabac from Daniel Josier. And what I love about this is that it has the most delicate yet opulent, rich, like decadent amber in the base. So it's equal parts amber as it is a tobacco fragrance. And it has this really soft, easygoing, comforting tobacco. It's not like a smoky tobacco. It is not a masculine leaning tobacco. It is just this beautiful, almost like a sweet tobacco nature to it. I believe there's vanilla in the fragrance. I'm not looking at the notes right now, but amber for sure, and a heavy tobacco that is just so beautiful. It has this really lovely femininity on me. My husband has worn it and it smells great on him too. But oh my gosh, sweet, deep, almost like resinous in nature. I don't know if this has honey, but kind of something in that direction. And it's just so nicely done, so rich smelling without being overpowering or cloying, and has a really lovely projection and lovely longevity, and is probably the most refined tobacco fragrance that I've tried of the many, many that I've tried. This is my #1 pick. A fragrance that was an immediate love when I tried it. I hesitated to purchase it because it was very expensive for a long time. I waited till it got to a discounter and I secured my bottle, and this fragrance, it moves me. This is TriBeCa from Bond No. 9. The best way that I would describe this, stay with me here, is if with Baccarat Rouge 540, if you swapped out some of like the saffrony sweet notes in there and put in some gourmand notes and added a floral touch, you might end up with something like this. And so I want to make sure I share some of the notes: caramel, cacao, hazelnut, And I love that it also has a jasmine sambac note to add some floral touch. So for me, this is a floral gourmand or a gourmand floral fragrance that has some woody touches to it. I love that the combination of the nutty aspect of this along with the cacao and the caramel really sort of just meld together in a way where I don't personally pick out any one of those three notes, but it adds almost like this really soft, delicate, nougaty gourmandness to this with a chocolatey tone that I think is subtle yet beautiful. And I love that it has that nice woodiness behind it. It's ambroxan. And I just want to say that because some of you are very sensitive to ambroxan and don't like it. I happen to love ambroxan in a fragrance. I love the sort of airy, sweet woodiness that it lends with like a touch of muskiness. And I just think that this is great. So this is a very long lasting fragrance. I find it to be very feminine and cozy, yet sophisticated as well. And one that I wouldn't hesitate to wear to all occasions in the fall. This could be like a good all occasion fragrance for fall and very well received. I get compliments in this picky house when I wear this fragrance from others. So lovely, lovely. So, and can be found on discounters for in the 200, maybe like between 200 and 225 range. Whereas I think it retailed for something wild, like 450. Oh my gosh. One of my longest lasting and most complimented fragrances in my entire collection. And I'm talking about compliments outside of my house this time. Look, this is one that people love or they don't, as with many fragrances, but this one in particular is polarizing, and it is Jean Paul Gaultier La Belle. When I have worn this out in public, I have immediately been complimented by men, women, children. Dogs have come up and sniffed me. I'm just kidding. There weren't any dogs sniffing me, but they would have if they could. This is gorgeous. And it took me a while to warm up to this. I remember when I first smelled it, I was like, okay, I don't understand what all the hype is about. And then I wore it and I went out into the world and saw the reaction that I got. And that kind of changed my mind into loving this, if you can believe that. It's known to be very heavy on a deep, dark vanilla and this cooked pear thing. People talk about it being a cooked pear. So there's a bright, fresh pear when you first cut into like a pear that has just ripened. There's an under-ripened pear smell, and then there's a cooked pear smell that's almost like a compote. If you think about it being sugary, and when you cook it, the sugars kind of crystallize a little bit or come forward more or something like that. It's in that realm of things. It does have, and people don't talk about this, there's a little bit of a hint of citrus in the far background of this fragrance. There's definitely like this warm, very deep ambery base. Some people pick up leather in the fragrance. I can't say that I do. For a long time, I think the only notes that were listed for this were pear, vanilla, and amber. And then all the other notes came out and leather was among them. But to me, this is still a pear and vanilla heavy fragrance. I would also highly endorse the Parfum version. Is it La Belle Le Parfum, I think is what it's called. I have that too. It's a deeper, darker, sultrier version of this that is very good for date night. This one I'd wear all day. So good, very projecting, very long lasting, will fill up a room, and people love this. So I love the warmth of this and the fruitiness of this without being in the berry direction. It's like a warm, dark sugar kind of fruitiness. Really, really good. Ooh, highly feminine too. And you were one that I picked up in that So Avant-Garde sale with no regrets. And so this is a repeat across the videos. This is from Andrea Maack and it's called Jest. So here was a fragrance that when I first tried it, I thought it was nice. I tried it again. I liked it even more. I tried it a third and fourth time, I sample, and started to really, really dig it. And I love that I have the full bottle in hand now because, as I always say, sometimes having the full bottle is just a different experience than you get sampling. You might love something sampling and hate it full bottle, or vice versa. You might be okay on a sample and get the full bottle and fall deeply in love with the way that it plays on your skin and fills the room and all of those things. This fragrance it's got some nice chocolatey facets to it. And for me, it's like a dark chocolate, like a dry dark chocolate, almost like the chocolate that is in Choco Violette from Mancera, if you have tried that. Kind of like that, but not that dry. And there's a rum note. I pick up a bright, happy apple, which is a note in the fragrance. And then the base of this has musk, vanilla, and ambroxan. I love the way those play together. I wouldn't tell you this is a heavily musky or a heavily vanillic fragrance or a heavily woody fragrance. None of that. It's kind of just a nice combination of the three that bolsters this fragrance up with the rum and the chocolate and the apple and the other some spicy notes in here sitting on top. This is lovely. It's different. It's unique. I think for some people, they'll smell this and be perplexed by what they're smelling. So it would be one that I would say sample first. I think you can get samples on just about a lot of places now. You can actually get samples on Twisted Lily. I think Lucky Scent is selling samples. I don't know if Scent Split has samples. I haven't looked on there. And then on So Avant-Garde, there may still be samples. We sold this out, friends. We had the So Avant-Garde sale. Y'all that wanted this, we went on right away and sold it out right away. So thank you to everyone that shopped that sale, including me. I shopped my own sale. Up next is one that's not in fall lineups. I usually see people talking about this in spring lineups or in their summer, like tropical floral selections, and it belongs there too. So in that way, it's a little bit of a surprise for a fall all-star fragrance category. But for those of you that are floral lovers and you like deep, it's almost like sultry florals for fall, I really, really am enjoying from the Harmonist Moon Glory. There are a number of fragrances that I was considering for this sort of floral thing for fall, but I kind of want to save some of those for winter because they're super heavy. This one has some heaviness without being like overwhelming. And so that's why I thought this was a good choice for fall. It has a prominent honey note, and it is a very delicious, almost like silky honey that's in the fragrance, along with a lot of white and yellow florals. Yellow florals I tend to think of as lending almost like this, well, the color yellow, like a yellow butteriness to fragrances. They're rounder, they're softer, they're sultrier, whereas white florals, depending on what the white florals are, they're smelling more like spring garden-like. And so it's a combination of all of that that gives this both like a bright freshness and this deep sultriness for fall and even winter. I think this would be a good winter fragrance too. I think this is really, really great. Some of the base notes I want to share are there's a balsamic note in here, musk and hinoki wood. And so again, just like with Jest, I couldn't say that I would pick out any of the base notes themselves, except to say that the combination adds this depth, like an anchor, like just sort of a really strong, soft foundation for this. Really, really lovely fragrance. It wears well, it shines. Some people don't do well with honey, and I think this honey note in here, the softness of it and the silky nature of it, I think is a lot more easygoing than some of the typical honeys that people think of when they think of honey fragrances, like Bee from Ellis Brooklyn or Bee from Zoologist, and those where it's more like this animalic, heavy honey that on some people can maybe lean a little bit in the urine type of direction. This one doesn't do that. This one stays glorious, perfumey, feminine, gorgeous, like a queen of the night floral honey deal here. Really, really lovely. These are super expensive, so I'll see if I can find it on sale somewhere for you. I just picked up this next fragrance, so I have a lot of nerve putting it in this video, but it really impressed me right away. And it impressed me most when I actually sprayed it on and saw how it warmed up on me, because it's great out of the atomizer, and then on skin, it started to really shine. Don't laugh at my bottle, okay? I purchased a little one. I think this is a 30 ml. A little pricey. It's an extrait de parfum, which just means that it has a higher oil concentration than other concentrations. This is my little itty bitty bottle of Glow from Akro, which is Akro's newest addition to their lineup. So a lot of people have compared this to Spiritus Double Vanille from Guerlain. It's been a very, very long time since I've smelled that fragrance, so I can neither confirm nor deny that, but I trust that if a lot of people are picking that up, it's giving them that. Although people are also saying that maybe this smells a little bit better because it's a little deeper and longer lasting than the Guerlain fragrance. So I may be putting this up on Mercari in favor of getting the fuller bottle. I mean, when this came out of the box, can you imagine? It was like a miniature. I was like, oh, I didn't realize it was this little teeny tiny 30 mil. I mean, that's what I ordered, right? But this little itty bitty thing, I think was $130. I did use my own discount code at Twisted Lily, Veronica 10, if you want to use that. And then it's also on So Avant-Garde, which is where I think I might get the big bottle from. I'm not sure, but you can use Veronica 10 there as well. Anyway, friends, the fragrance reminds me of some other smoky, ambery vanillas that I have in my collection. I'm thinking of, I think it's called Vanagloria from Laboratorio Olfativo. This doesn't have quite the like incensey, smoky touches that one has. I wouldn't call that a smoky fragrance. This has a little bit of a smoky touch, but it's super in the background. It's a vanilla fragrance, and it has some amberiness to it, which is nice. In fact, the amber in here reminds me a lot of the gorgeous amber in the Daniel Josier Ambre Tabac fragrance. Really, really pretty. And I even pick up some spiciness. There's a pink pepper note But I wonder if there are some other spices in here, maybe some touches of even nutmeg or a little, like, I think a little dash of cardamom in the fragrance. I'm not quite sure. I don't know. But anyway, I love the way that this wears. I find it really sultry. I'm going to tell you what else it reminded me of. And please let me know if you had the same experience. When I first sniffed it, and I'm not going to say that they smell alike, but it immediately came into my mind, and that was Gentle Fluidity Gold from Maison Francis Kurkdjian. I got that vibe. Not exactly the same. Like that one has a juniper note and it has just some other touches that this one doesn't, but it's almost like they could be related in the same family. Anyway, this is quite beautiful. In fact, I debated, do I want to put Gentle Fluidity Gold into the video or this one? And I thought, since people know about Gentle Fluidity Gold, let me share my thoughts on Glow, although either one of those could have taken this spot for this sort of sultry, beautiful vanilla that is sophisticated, refined, you know, just makes you feel like your best self in the fall. Beautiful fragrance and long lasting. In this little tiny bottle. This one is also newer to my lineup, and so how dare I put it in an all-stars video. But I immediately fell in love with this fragrance. It was sent to me by So Avant-Garde to test along with some others from this line, and this was my favorite of the lineup. This is from the new Banana Republic Collezione Riservata, reserved collection or private collection, Oris Vanille. There's Monday Rose, there's Morning Jasmine, and I want to say there are a couple of others. And I liked Morning Rose a lot. And Morning Jasmine I like too, but it doesn't smell anything like what you expected. And I have a lot of that. It was like a fruit chuli fragrance to me. It was nothing like what I thought it was going to smell like. But this one really surprised me in beautiful ways. I would call this a mostly unisex fragrance, although I do think it has enough touches in it that it's very wearable by ladies easily. I pick up personally a prominent apple note in the fragrance, like a crisp, happy fall apple. And it's an apple that's ripened and is juicy and has some sweetness to it. The note that's in here that's probably giving me that is an apple blossom, I would imagine. I don't know for a fact. Maybe there's something else that's giving me that, but I pick up apple, like the fruit apple. And it's got like this butteriness, this vanilla and butteriness to it, that I think is just so divine and both comforting and happy and uplifting. It says that it has incense, and some people have marked this as being smoky for them. I don't pick up smokiness from this at all. I pick up like amber and vanilla and apple and brightness. There is a lemon note in the fragrance that maybe is what's lending that sort of citrusy brightness without being citrus forward at all. This is so good. It makes me happy. This would be like a lighter, more playful child to perhaps Oajan, whereas this one is spicy, sultry, deeper, very deep into fall. This is like the playful cherub, younger sister, younger brother of the vibe that this gives. It's not spicy like that, but there's something about the happiness of Oajan that I also get in this Oris Vanille. I can't wait to try this on my husband, but I was going to put it on his shelf, but the more that I sniff it, the more I'm like, nope, this is staying on my shelf. I love it. I love the sweet apple nature of this alongside that really delicious deep vanilla. The Oris for me, I mean, it's Oris Vanille, right? There's supposed to be like a powderiness in this fragrance, but I get more like a dense, creamy powderiness, okay? This is just good. You got to try this out. And then if you're still around, I have an honorable mention. Put an apple down in the comments if you're still here with me, because this has a beautiful apple note in it. People don't associate this fragrance with fall, and I really don't either, but there's something about it that if you want like a transitional fragrance that isn't heavy into fall, or maybe you're in a region where, you know, it's still kind of warmish during the day, but you want fall vibes. I really like the freshness of this with a little bit of fall aspect, and that is, this one is called Limitless Shopping. I'm not even going to attempt the rest of the name, from Trussardi. So this whole line of fragrances are named after shopping plazas, walkways, prominent like promenades and things like that in Italy. So it's limitless shopping in a specific area, right, that I can't pronounce, or I refuse to try to pronounce. The fragrance here, I love, speaking of apple, a happy apple note that's in here in the same way that it is in Oris Vanille. This one is an even sweeter apple. This is like a little bit of a fresher apple. I get freshness from this fragrance, almost like it has a little bit of a soapy texture and nature to it, alongside a thin, simple honey. It's like the smell that you get when you dissolve honey in something warm, like in tea or in any kind of dish that requires honey. You get a little bit of waft of that left but it's not like the thick honey that you would stick your nose into in a jar. Okay, so it's like some nice hints of honey wafting through this without being too honey-like, a very happy, delightful, crisp apple, and some muskiness and some soapy clean tones all together. And I just adore the feeling that this gives me of like an everyday sweater weather or white t-shirt and jeans. Again, if it's still warm where you are and you're just, you know, putting on your t-shirt, your jeans to go run errands and you want a clean but fall vibe, check out something like Limitless shopping. That brings me to the end of the video. I would love to hear if you have a fall all-stars recommendation, drop it down below. Remember, I have a gourmand video coming up, a fall spicy video, a Halloween video, unisex, and then the initial house review is what's up next in my lineup, in addition to some of the other typical videos that I give, like my monthly awards and my putting the tray together type of thing that I've started to do. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Don't forget to leave the apple in the comments if you're still here. I hope you are having a fabulous fall so far. See you in the next video. Take care.